In this video, we're going to talk about the 7 most common sales objections, but we're not going to do it how you might think. So instead of me actually giving you the objection and what rebuttal to use, and it's like a canned response, which doesn't work anyway, I'm going to teach you something far more profound. And in fact, this foundational philosophy was what built my $30 million a year sales training company. So you see, great salespeople, instead of trying to hard close the prospect at the end or give a bunch of rebuttals or any of that stuff, what they actually focus on instead of objection handling is objection prevention. And the way they do that is through realizing that there's 7 beliefs the prospect needs to have to buy. And if through our questions early on in the call, we can break down the limiting beliefs and install the 7 empowering beliefs before we transition to the close, we can create what's called an objectionless close. Instead of the end having to hard close the prospect or handle a bunch of objections, the prospect actually closes themselves because they view you as a leader, not a salesperson. So I'm going to splice over to a document where we cover the 7 beliefs, what they are, how to utilize them, and we'll see you on the other side. So what's the biggest discovery I've made in sales? It's called the belief blueprint. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what each of those 7 beliefs are and how you can use them in your very next sales conversation on this document. And here's the thing, comment beliefs below if you want this document and you can print it out and actually use it on your calls. Just comment beliefs below. The first belief is pain. So pain is the belief that the prospect has to believe they have a problem, number 1, or an unfulfilled desire. So a problem or an unfulfilled desire. So a problem is like an active pain. So like the easiest way to think about this is back pain, right? Back pain's a problem. If you have a disease, that's considered a problem. If your business is in debt or it's in the red, that's a problem. An unfulfilled desire is something to where you don't necessarily have a problem right now, but you have something that, hence the word is an unfulfilled desire, right? So you have a desire that you have not reached yet. So a great example is you could have a totally healthy person, but they want to basically enter in and win a bodybuilding competition. You could have a business that's doing extremely, extremely well, but at the same time wants to do another merger or an acquisition so they can increase profitability or have more vertical integration. You could have a couple that has no sort of relationship issues, but they're just really passionate about making the relationship the best that they could be so that they get like a coach or something to make things better in the bedroom or what have you. So anything that's an unfulfilled desire is not necessarily a problem, but it still creates a gap. And that's the thing. Whether it's a problem or an unfulfilled desire, what we want to be looking for is a gap between where the prospect is and where they want to be. So why is this belief important? Because business is about solving problems, right? When you solve a problem, you create value and money follows value. So if we know that to be true, then sales is really just a demonstration we can solve a problem for somebody else. And if we also know that, then we know that if there's no problem, there's no sale, okay? So we have to find the problem, and as soon as we find the problem, it's like we mark X on the map, we get out our shovel, we start digging, right? The entire conversation is predicated on the problem, and guess what? The entire next 6 beliefs I'm going to cover with you are also predicated on the problem. You can't execute any of those beliefs until you know what the problem is. So without this belief, you're gonna have the objection, I don't want it. They're not gonna see how it's going to help them. It's really the core, nothing is going to happen if you don't have the pain, okay? So, and moreover, you cannot explain how your solution is going to help the person unless you know what the gap is. Because your solution should be positioned as the bridge between where they are now and where they wanna be. So, next belief is doubt. So what's doubt? Doubt means that the prospect must believe they can't have a problem, or they cannot fix their problem, or that attempting to fix their problem by themselves would waste unnecessary resources in the form of time, energy, money, and reputation, given the other avenues available to them, aka buying from you. Okay? So again, doubt is basically the belief that they either can't fix the problem on their own, or trying to do so is just unnecessary and it's much easier to buy from you, essentially. So why is this belief important? Well, to understand, you have to understand the buying pocket. So the buying pocket is a place where the prospect believes their outcome is possible, but only with your help. They believe that they can totally do it, but only with your help. On the left side of the buying pocket, what you have is they just don't believe it's possible. Period. On the right side of the buying pocket, they believe that, well, yeah, it's totally possible and I could do it on myself or could do it all by myself. So what happens is if you have somebody who's left pocket, they don't even believe it's possible, what you want to do is tell them stories of people just like them that had the same exact challenges, they were able to do it despite those challenges. So you want to drop case studies and storytelling in your selling. If the person's the right side of the pocket, what you need to do is be able to ask skilled questions about how long the problem's been going on, what they tried to fix the problem in the past, to be able to demonstrate to them that, oh, maybe they are not as confident as they should be. And maybe there's other avenues that are better, which creates the doubt, okay? So without this belief, you get the objection, I can just do this on my own. Belief number 3 is cost. So what's this belief? This is the belief that doing nothing is far more painful in the form of time and money to fix the problem in the medium and long term. So long story short, the cost belief is the belief that if I do nothing, in the medium to long term, it's going to be far, far more painful than the pain associated with me just investing in buying the product, okay? And also, an investment in buying the product is not just an investment in money, but also time, energy, attention, reputation, etc. So it's not just money, it's also time. So here's the thing. A lot of people call this the cost of inaction, the price of doing nothing, getting leverage on the prospect, etc. And there's really 2 criteria for it. The first one I kind of already mentioned, current and future consequences are more painful than the consequences and pain of buying now. The next one is that the perceived pain has to exceed the action threshold. So people who are more risk adverse, they're gonna have a higher action threshold. They're like boiling toads. You know, it has to get really, really, really bad before they jump out of the pot of water. Whereas maybe entrepreneurs like us or salespeople like us, you know, if we see a problem, we're like, boom, fix it. We have actually a low action threshold. But most of the society is like the boiling toad. So things have to get really, really, really bad. And us as salespeople, we have to, like similar if you've heard of Tony Robbins and the Dickens process, where he's building, you know, the cost of what's gonna happen if nothing happens or they don't change anything. We have to ask skilled questions to let them see if the problem goes unfixed, how painful that's really going to be in the long term, and then bring that forefront to a reality. So this graph here, you could see when the cost and future pain of doing nothing is much greater than the pain of investing in your offer in time and energy and money, and it exceeds the action threshold, then they buy. Does that make sense? So without this belief, you're going to receive the objection, anything that's like a delay. So I want to think about it. I want to circle back to this next quarter. I need to get some info. I need some research. This sounds good. Just send me a proposal. Like any of those things are a lot of times a lack of urgency, which is due to cost. Cost builds the urgency. Belief number 4 is desire. So this one's pretty simple. This means the prospect must believe that fixing the problem leads to a better future situation. In other words, right now, the pain belief is Hell Island. That we got to figure out where on Hell Island are they. The desire belief is getting them to figure out what does their Heaven Island actually look like. Because we need both to position our offer as a bridge between Hell Island and Heaven Island, okay? So typically here, we need to know what they want, why they want what they want, and then we need to have some sort of number assigned to what they want. So if it's like weight loss, well, how much weight do you want to lose? If it's dating, well, how many dates do you want to get on a week? If it's something that reduces price through a software, well, like what is the exact amount of price reduction in terms of percentage or an actual value number that they want to have? If it's business growth, like where do you want to grow your business to? I think you guys get the point. The final thing is we need to know how getting that thing would impact another area of their life. Now, don't just explicitly ask, hey, well, how would getting your business to $1 million a month, how would that impact another area of your life? Like, that's just so salesy and like people are just gonna laugh at you if you say that. There's more tactful ways that you can ask that question that you can learn on this channel. Now, why is this belief important? Well, similar to pain, we gotta know desired situation, we gotta know Heaven Island if we're gonna be able to know how to position and pitch our product, okay? Because our product is the bridge. And without this belief, you're gonna receive, you know, I wanna think about it, I don't know if I need this, I don't know if this can even help me. At the end of the day, they're gonna lack clarity. You might have them in a ton of pain, but if they lack clarity, they're not gonna buy because they're not excited about where they're going. There needs to be a clear away from and a towards. Belief number 5 is money. So this belief is the belief that the prospect has the resources and willingness to invest in what your offer is, okay? Resources and willingness, those are 2 different things. So resources means they have to literally have the resources. So if you're selling a $10,000 coaching program, and the person has $400, they don't have the resources, literally. And they have a 400 credit score, they don't have the resources, okay? Now, it doesn't mean they couldn't go find it, but generally they don't have it. Willingness means they have the resources, but they're not willing. So for an example, one of my clients a long time ago was a dating coach. He was talking to an attorney who was this grizzled old, like 52-year-old man who was having some dating issues. Well, the guy thought the program was going to be $200, but the program was $3,000 because he works with busy professionals. And the attorney laughed and just didn't buy, right? Despite, having all of these issues. So he had the resources, but he didn't have the willingness. Does it make sense? Now, how do you build willingness? You build it by anchoring more cost. So the cost belief lends to the willingness of this belief. Hopefully that makes sense. So if they don't have the resources, literally, like if they have a 400 credit score and $400 in the bank, that's a condition, not an objection. That means like logistically they really want to do it. They just have logistics in the way of how they can do it. Okay? Now, how do you decide rather it's a real condition versus a smokescreen? Because a lot of people at the end of the call will say, oh, I don't have the money, oh, it's too much, but they're just lying, right? So how do you actually know the difference between when they're lying versus when they actually conditionally don't have the money? It's called the open wallet test, which is basically probably a 4 to 5 step framework that you use at the end of the call in your objection handling of the financial objection that basically gets them to tell you exactly what's in their checking account, which sounds crazy, but it's extremely ethical, and they'll actually do it because they know they're doing it because you want to help them. They're doing it because they really want to do this, and you're actually offering to help and get creative in finding solutions to make it work. So before you judge the open wallet test here, go to this link right here. Just comment below for the video, comment beliefs below. Then go to this link here, and you can watch me doing the open wallet test live, okay? And prospects a lot of times after this will thank you. They're not getting weird about it. They will thank you for getting creative with them. So it's really, really cool. And after I go through this, I will know 100% of the time if the prospect has money or they don't, if it's a condition or if it's an objection and it's a smokescreen, and then I can root out the uncertainty and be able to handle it, okay? Without this belief, you receive the objection, I don't have any money, right? Too much, don't have money, etc. Belief number 6 is support. So this means that people around them or close to them or who are relevant to the decision will support them in fixing the problem, okay? Notice I said fixing the problem, not buying your product. So it's still predicated on the pain belief, okay? So why is this belief important? Well, after you elicit the pain, you need to see if the prospect's spouse, partner, their dog, whatever it is, if they're supportive in them fixing the problem, not buying the product, the problem. So you gotta know, do they think it's a problem? Does it affect them? Does this problem that the spouse is having affect the other spouse? Are they supportive in their spouse fixing the problem? Right? Because it's one thing to know about this thing is a problem. It's another thing to be saying, okay, are they supportive in you fixing the problem? Okay? It's easier to get them to buy or get buy-in from both parties, spouse, partner, or business partners, if both agree, first both acknowledge that there's a problem, and both agree and are supportive in fixing the problem. If I can get the buy-in on that, getting the buy-in on the product is much easier. But you want to focus on the problem, not the product, okay? There's much less resistance there. So obviously, if you don't handle that belief, you get the spouse and partner objection. The final belief is the trust belief, and this is one of the most, if not the most important. So this means they trust that you're telling the truth, they trust the company is reputable and has a good track record, and this is the most important, they trust that your method is the simultaneous explanation of why everything they tried in the past has failed and why this is going to be different. I'll repeat that. Your method, right? Your method of getting them to the result, not the product, the method, there's a difference. Your method is the simultaneous explanation of why everything they tried in the past has failed and why this is going to be different, okay? So, rapport and deep understanding of the first 6 beliefs we already covered, that's going to build trust in you, the salesperson, okay? Telling stories, giving social proof, seeing third-party endorsements helps the company track record, okay? But unless they believe your product is unique, different, superior than the competition, or there are other options out there, being a doing yourself or maybe an indirect competitor, they're never going to buy, okay? So here's the thing. When you pitch your product, when you explain this, okay, by the nature of you just explaining what you do and how you can help, it needs to explain to them why what they're trying in the past has failed, and why this is going to be a different and better and superior way to getting them to the result. I'll give you some examples. So, ketogenic diet. By the nature of me explaining what the ketogenic diet is, this is if you look at great performing sales letters in this market, okay? If you look at how they explain the ketogenic diet, by the nature of explaining it, you step one, understand why you've been stuck in the past, which for ketogenic diet is insulin resistance, right? They say insulin resistance is the real reason why you've never gotten results, why you haven't been able to lose weight, okay? Then they also explain why this is going to be different. We're to keep your body in a state of ketosis so it doesn't secrete insulin and so you can be in a more fat-burning state. Now, whether that's true or not and actually works better, totally up for discussion. That's not what this YouTube channel is about. But as you can see, by the nature of me explaining the ketogenic diet, somebody would understand why they failed in the past and why this is going to be different. Let's look at ClickFunnels by Russell Brunson, okay? Which is a software about funnels that you make online sales funnels of. So, when he explains ClickFunnels, he's explaining why companies have failed in the past in the form of non-converting websites, right? Because when you drive traffic to your website, it doesn't capture a lead, nobody converts. And then when he explains why this is going to be different, it's building the belief of funnels, right? Funnels is the reason why it's going to be different opposed to your website. Okay, so for Russell, for instance, if you watch his presentations, like type in like 10x Growth Con, Russell Brunson, and see if the pitch that he had that I think did $1 million in an hour is there, okay? In that pitch or in any of his webinars, he doesn't try to sell you on the product of ClickFunnels. All he tries to do is sell you on the idea that funnels are the single most effective, fastest way to get customers online. Because if you believe that funnels are that, by the nature of just believing that belief, you're gonna buy his product because it's the only way to do it. Does that make sense? So hopefully that makes sense. And I put here, he's selling you on the idea of funnels and not necessarily ClickFunnels. So remember, there's two sales. There's a sale on the method and the sale on the product, right? So the sale on the method and the sale on the product. Funnels, and then there's ClickFunnels. There's the ketogenic diet, and then there's your specific, 4-day ketosis health program. Does that make sense? Okay? So without this belief, you're gonna get things that are gonna have to do with the competition. So I've tried stuff like this before. The last salesperson, this sounds great, but the last salesperson I talked to, he said basically all the same stuff. We're gonna go with a cheaper provider with the same service. Okay, I don't think this will work for me. I tried stuff like this in the past. So here's the deal. When you elicit these 7 beliefs, you get an objectionless close. But if you get an objection, go to this next video that's gonna be on the screen. It's called 2 Steps to Handle Any Objection, and it'll break down a framework of exactly how to do that. See you in the next video.